Thank you. Good morning to all of you. Mr. Natarajan, dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries of the dais who are receiving their certificate today of having finished successfully, and their proud parents, friends, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I think it's rare that I get an opportunity to interact with what I would say the future of India, and therefore I would like to thank you for having given me this opportunity to be here today and participate in this function. Once I agreed with Mr. Kunusamy to be here, I was thinking, because the problem which happens is you need to say something which is interesting for you, but at the same time means something very special for the speaker as well. So you sometimes struggle because you really don't know what is going to appeal to whom. But having said that, I thought since you are from the business side of the education, it makes sense for me to speak about first the future of India and then talk about what opportunities do we have. I think as all of us know, nations also have what I may call falling and rising cycles. And in a way, if you look at India, I think we are at the rare cusp of actually seizing an opportunity to ride the rising cycle. What do I mean by that? If you look at the developed countries, the reason why they have grown has been their ability to bring in new innovations, new technology, and if I can use that word, the advantage which they had of having economic power. And they assiduously built it up. I mean, if you look at history, you will realize that most of the wars happened because each of these nations would have wanted to not just protect their, so to say, power or position, but the main reason why wars happened because they wanted to maintain their economic value creation and make sure they were amongst the top nations. Fortunately for us, I think in a way, we in India became, if I can say so, a very unique country. What do I mean by that? Now, having been exposed to most parts of the world, I can tell you that the value for money equation which we have in India, coupled with the aspiration, is, I would say, no comparison with any other country in the world. What do I mean by that? We want the best of service, we want the best of the product, but we want it at the least value. I will use the word the value which we can afford to buy. And fortunately or unfortunately, we also have the advantage of being maybe one of the largest consumption economies or maybe the largest potential consumption economy. And when we speak, I'll come to the growth rate later. So in terms of, as a comparison, then what happens is that we have a market, but nobody can actually succeed in the market unless they do something which really reduces cost or increases so much value that we as consumers will buy it, will use the service and also benefit from it. So then it leads to a new paradigm. Every global economic company or any company which has a need for doing business in a developing market, using the know-how which they have acquired or which they have developed in the developing country, find that they are struggling in India. And the reason for that is exactly what I said earlier. Because we are looking at the lowest cost, so either they have to be ready to lose a lot of money and establish themselves in India, or they have to come in and actually do something very different. So if I look at the automotive sector, you look at what products have succeeded or what manufacturers have succeeded. You will see all of those who have succeeded have been ones who have created products unique for India and then used that product and sold it in other parts of the world. If you look at every sector, whether it's an FMCG product or electronic product, you will find that most of the solutions which people would have found would have been what I may call India-centric or India-unique products, which then they would have used in other parts of the world. Then we come to the services sector. And if you look at the services sector, I think every one of us know that India has a very unique challenges and therefore maybe a need to produce an India unique solution. But what we have found is once you create an India unique solution, you can actually use that to be, if I can say so, very competitive in the other developed markets. So then you start creating what I would call a unique know-how of doing business, which then helps you grow in other markets as well. The last point I will mention here, the very fact that we now have, forget whatever is the dispute in terms of the exact rate of growth, but I will say even if it's a 5% rate of growth or a 7% rate of growth or a 9% rate of growth, even if it's at 5%, on considering the size of the economy we have, the opportunity is huge. The opportunity is immense. And that's why I guess most of you are here, because you are looking at what you can do with this opportunity. So the question before us then is what next? What is going to happen? I think the fact of the matter, as I keep saying earlier, is India is unique. And there is no question that India is going to have ups and downs. It doesn't mean the rest of the world is going to all grow always or not stop growing. No. The same thing is going to be true for India as well. So the uniqueness of the Indian requirements is going to continue. We are going to have challenges in terms of equality of growth. We are going to have challenges in terms of the ability to grow profitably, and I will come to that a little bit later. And the third and the most important thing is how do we create the right type of jobs and the right type of talent for the requirement of the jobs. So that brings to the crux of what the future of India's issues are going to be. What does it mean for us? What does it mean for the people in this room? What it really means is that if we are smart, we actually would end up being very successful. What do I mean by smart? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be better than the other academically. It means that you have a mindset of doing things well, doing things in a, if I can use that word, innovative manner. So let me define what I mean by innovation a little bit more. If I look at the example of every successful company which is operating in India, you will always find that not one, but many people would have been involved in creating what I would call is a unique business model. And what do I mean by unique business model? It can be something very, very small. I'll give you an example of that. People say, there have been manufacturing products. If you look at each of the big innovations which have taken place, whether it be on the telecom side or whether it be on the, today there are various applications which are being used on checkouts, etc., where you do smartphone checkout. All of it would have been done by whom? Would have been done by individuals who would have applied just a minor change to whatever other technologies were available. If you look at services, all innovation would have taken place in what I may call incremental difference. It can be a 5% difference, but it makes a disproportionate value to the end user. Thereby, they actually end up wanting to buy the product or buy the service and use the service. That incremental innovation is what I think India has a unique advantage with. And what do I mean by that? If I look at our business, for example, we found that any solution on the technology side which requires a mobile phone application, we were able to find people in India who were able to develop first for India, and in a matter of 6 to 9 months, they were able to find solutions which could then be used globally. Today, I call them as not entrepreneurs but entrepreneurs, meaning they are employees of the company, but they are the ones who are providing value and technology services and solutions for us to use in the rest of the world. 3 years ago, we started with 3 people. Now we have more than 3,000 people who are actually employed in what we call as a center of excellence in developing solutions, not for India, but for the rest of the world. So that uniqueness is what I think we in India have and we don't recognize. Why does that happen? And there I would squarely lay the blame on the industry, on the education sector, and the people who come with the expectation of what their expectations are in the learning institution. I'm sure all of you, if I ask you, will say different reasons, but the reality is that one aspires to grow further. So what does that aspiration mean? And I think I've said this earlier, but I'm sure people in this room may not have heard it, so I'll repeat it. There is this famous joke of a guy very big business guy went on a holiday and sat next to him. And he asked him, what do you do? He said, I come here every day, I lie down and then go back. So he said, but you don't do anything? He said, no. How do you manage? Oh, I'm happy. He said, what do you mean you're happy? You have to do something. You have to create some value. You have to work. You have to be productive. You can't be just sitting here and coming and lying down on the beach and doing nothing. So then that guy said, what for? Then he can be very useful. What for? Then I'll be happy. You can be totally happy. He said, exactly. I'm totally happy lying down on the beach. That's why I'm doing nothing. Right? But it's the exact opposite example I'm giving you, because I actually mean that if you are going to do something, you must do it because you derive not just economic value, meaning money from it, but because you are actually enjoying what you're doing. The real crux of the problem I think we will have in India, and we have to find solutions for, is not skill gap. Everybody says, oh, there's a huge talent gap, people who come out from education institutions lack knowledge, people don't know how to teach, industry must come and get. If I come and teach you, will I do any better than the people who have been already teaching you? I can assure you I'll do worse. Just because I've been successful in business doesn't mean I'll be a good teacher. But what I think we really lack is unlocking the mind potential or the mindset potential of we as a country. That actually is the true unlocking which a teacher can give you, which an institution can give you, which an industry working with an institution can give you. What will that lead to? That will lead to a mindset where if you look at a problem, you want to find a solution. You want to find a solution which actually will benefit you as a user. So I'll give you an example. Every time I used to go to a hotel to check in, I'll always compare and say, I went to X hotel and they were able to check me in 1 minute, because for me time is always important. And when I compare some other hotel, I'll say, why does it take 3 minutes? He'll say, my system is hanging, sir, I don't have your database, I don't have your Aadhaar card, whatever it may be. Can you not make the process better and better and better? That mindset attitude, I as a user, then if I tomorrow work in a hotel industry, how do I then apply that pain point and find a solution for that pain? That mindset has to be installed or instilled, especially in a college or an institution, to make sure that the improvement mindset comes in us as a country, as a culture. That for me is uniquely Indian. Already there is a unique solution which we in India are made people accept that there will be a huge value for money which we will look for. We want the best product, we want the best service, but we want it at an India cost. If you go to the rest of the world, there is a cost, there is a customer expectation, therefore the price has to be Y. Here we are saying no, that Y is not acceptable, we want it at Y minus 20%, Y minus 30%, because I want to buy, I have an aspiration. If you want to fulfill that aspiration and come to this country and be successful, I will need it at this price. So if you as an individual today who are kind of moving out of this institution, my humble suggestion and request would be that develop this mindset of what I may call, what can I do better? Why should you do it? Because you want to be happy in whatever you do. You want your organization or whichever company or your own business, whichever you are starting, to be able to create value. So there are only two benchmarks which at least I will keep, and I'll share one personal experience with you. So when I was in school, I actually took up a science course because all of my friends were joining engineering. I said, yeah, I must also join engineering. Of course, one of my brother was an engineer, so I said, good, let me join. And till my 12th standard, I read everything, all science subjects. And then when I went to college, I hated engineering. Joined it, I couldn't sit in the class. More than 3 days, I just couldn't go. So I went to my father and said, I want to now stop engineering. And obviously he was totally shocked because, I read through my life in terms of looking at, or 12 years of my life in terms of looking at engineering, and then suddenly coming back and saying, why you don't want to go? I said, I can't go. So then what are you going to do? So I myself didn't have an answer. But luckily for me, I found a mentor who told me, why don't you join CA? Because I saw you were actually coming to a coaching class during your summer vacation, and you did quite well in terms of your accountancy program. I said, I don't know anything. But he said, don't worry, I'll find a teacher who will teach you. And instead of going to college, you actually write the CA entrance exam. And if you get through, you can directly go to CA. I was very lucky. Within 3 months, I prepared for it. I passed the exam. And as just now they mentioned when they introduced me, I managed to get through CA. Not only CA, I also did cost accountants. Now, what is relevant is not that I did CA, but what is relevant is that I did not know very clearly, and neither was I sure what my expectations of life is going to be. It could be forgiven when I'm in school. Can it be forgiven when I am doing my masters? Can it be forgiven when I'm choosing my job? I think not. So therefore, what I would suggest is that there is clarity of thinking of what the expectation is. And many times here again, there is a pressure, like I had pressure in terms of choosing engineering, not put by me, not by others, but by myself. The same way, the same pressure could be that this is what I need to do because somebody else expects this of me. Right? That causes in my mind the wrong choice. So it has to be a solution which oneself we are comfortable with. The third aspect of it then becomes, as I said, linking what I said earlier. Is there a clear expectation of what I want? Clear articulation of how I am going to get there? And last but not the least, am I going to be happy in whatever I am doing? Am I going to enjoy what I am doing? If those three do not get aligned, and it's like, in the horoscope they say stars are aligned. Similarly, all these 3 points, if they do not get aligned, then in my mind, we actually end up spending or disproportionately spending time in not doing the things which one needs to do to be productive, to be happy, and last but not the least, provide value for everybody. So the problem which happens, as an example, is that many times I go to an MBA class and speak to people, they will say, I want to be an entrepreneur. And if you ask them why, the answer is, I want to be my own boss. Fine, nothing wrong in that. But does one have the mindset to be an entrepreneur? What I said earlier is the first requirement, that one needs to think of what can I do better? What is uniquely different from me? And even if I'm joining as an employee, the first question which I ask somebody whom I interview is, why do you think you will be able to add value to me, and why do you think this organization can add value to you? If we don't find the right answers to those two questions, then I don't think we'll be happy. So what I wanted to summarize today and share with you is basically, through whatever 35 years of my experience, is very simply, if we don't align these three objectives, one, am I clear in what my expectations are? Have I the mindset to do or to be a uniquely differentiated person in an organization? It doesn't mean you don't obey the rules of the organization. It means that you start understanding and questioning as to how that organization can do things better. When I gave this speech when I gave this point to somebody in one of the colleges in Madurai, one girl actually stood up and asked me, that's fine, I have joined a company after, now 4 years I've been working in this organization, and every time I come up with answer to a pain problem, nobody listens to me. What should I do? And my answer to her was, you yourself gave the answer. Nobody listens to you, then are you adding value to this organization? You are not, right? So you should not be there, you should be in a different organization. So I think
The answer is very simple. Implementation of it is very difficult. That requires a mindset change. That mindset is what educational institutions actually impart to you. And whatever I have heard of this institution, I think you do a great job of instilling that mindset is what my people tell me. I was told that when they recruited people from here, they had a very positive experience. So that shows that if that culture can be instilled of doing things for the sake of improving oneself, for the sake of improving whatever organization one joins, and you need not be an entrepreneur, you can be an entrepreneur, meaning you enter an organization, you are an employee, but you have the mindset of continuous improvement, which is what is needed for entrepreneurship. So the final success is not what happens to India, is what happens to that one individual or the few individuals who are going to be doing their daily job in a better manner. So my humble request and prayer, if I can use that word, would be that if those who are passing out today carry that as their benchmark or as their expectation, and decide that once they join whatever organization or do their own business or whatever activity they do, and by the way, it need not be for profit at all, right? I haven't spent enough time about it, but it can be for doing so many social causes as well. But whatever you do, can we make that one difference to ourselves, to somebody else in society, to India as a country? If that can be done, then I think you add true value to yourself. But the most important, and if I can say so, the only reason all of this should be done is because that makes you happy. So if you serve with that as the purpose, you will realize that you actually build a different culture, a different India. And if you look at, leaving aside all politics, if you look at what has differentiated India, it is this culture of service, it is this culture of creating happiness which has differentiated India as a country. We have lost that root cause or that root of our culture. And today we have an opportunity to create it because of an economic benefit coming to us. So at least the way I look at our businesses or the way I look at this is we are re-establishing the Indian, if I can say so, way of doing business and become a multinational from India of our own right. And it is up to each individual to do the same in whatever he or she does in future. So I wish all of those who have passed out successfully and most importantly, if I can say so, an opportunity to create a differentiation for the future. I congratulate the institution who has created this, and as I said already, we hear about it. You will become the torchbearers of this institution going forward. Sorry, let me add one point before I finish. So, about 99, if I remember right, I was sitting in an office in New York, Goldman Sachs office in fact, because they had just invested in the company, and I was waiting to meet one of the partners. So suddenly somebody knocked on the door and entered. And I looked up at him and he said, "Are you Mr. Dinesh?" I said, "I thought, he's coming to call me for the meeting." I said, "Yes." So he said, "Oh, I saw you, so I just came in. I'm from Madurai and I read in your school. And I just wanted to say thank you because I'm very well settled in life and doing a great job here." So that for me gave the best satisfaction, and I'm sure the people who are sitting here will have the best satisfaction if they hear that from those of you passing out of here and being, if I can say so, successful in their life, being happy, doing good for themselves and doing good for the others. Wish you all the best, wonderful success and congratulations. Thank you.